has till now not gone public. Till now, he has not gone public. And as for Andrew, well, as I said, I really admire Andrew for sticking out and going on programs where he knows he's going to be isolated. But I'd like to say, Andrew, Deng Xiaoping, it was Deng Xiaoping, it was Jiang Zemin, it was Hu Jintao who made China prosperous, not Mr. Xi Jinping. Mr. Xi Jinping has reduced the growth rate of China to
Right.
half of what it was. And China is now on a road to disaster because companies are fleeing China
Well,
in droves.
we can, Professor Madhav Nalapat,
His predecessor.
we can question, but the fact is the world has to show the gumption. Starting with WTO and other entities, they have to make China pay and hold this leadership accountable, even for the sake of the Chinese people. Because like I said, they're all part of humanity, this entire one world that we are all a part of. So let's see if that happens, because it's high time it does. I thank you all. Thank you very much. We've just got enough time to put this out for our viewers here on Viewpoint. The Union Minister of Health, Mansukh Mandavia, has interacted with doctors and representatives of the Indian Medical Association. He's urged them to join the fight against COVID-19 by providing accurate information to allay fears and prevent an infodemic. It is important to be on the alert and follow COVID-appropriate behavior, he said, and refrain from spreading unverified information. So he's leaning on the doctors and the medical fraternity to keep the people in India informed. As of now, in Parliament, what he stated is the average number of cases is 153 a day. India is not on the throes of yet another outbreak, nor are we staring at yet another lockdown. But we all need to be cautious and careful and have COVID and maintain COVID-appropriate behavior. With that, we call it a wrap on this edition of Viewpoint. Anusha joins you with the biggest exclusive.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching this special broadcast with me, Anusha Soni. The death of TV actor Tunisha Sharma due to suicide has sent shockwaves. The 20-year-old with a relatively successful TV career died due to suicide. Her boyfriend, Sheezan Khan, is currently under the scanner and was arrested by the police on charges of abetment to suicide. You also have the Maharashtra Minister Girish Mahajan, who has rigged up the issue of love jihad, quote-unquote, saying that there is a thorough inquiry that should be conducted from this particular angle. The mother of Tunisha has levelled serious allegations against Sheezan, holding him responsible for the death. It is upon her complaint that he's been arrested. The death of the actress is not the only case. Many other celebrities from the television world took this drastic and unfortunate step. Is this case yet another example how deaths due to suicide are endemic in India? At least the data tells us so. How success and fame cannot compensate for emotional stability and strength, and more importantly, mental health issues. And was Tunisha under some kind of pressure to convert to another religion? Another angle that has been brought in. We discuss all of this. First up, a special report.
"20-year-old actor Tunisha Sharma's death has sent shockwaves across the nation. The young actor was found hanging on the set of a show she was shooting for at Vasai near Mumbai on Saturday evening. Her co-star Sheezan Khan was arrested after Tunisha's mother filed a complaint against him. In a video message released by her mother, Vanita alleges that Sheezan promised to marry her but was involved with another woman and used her for months.
उसका पहले किसी लड़की के साथ इन्वॉल्वमेंट थी, उसके बावजूद भी टुनीशा को उसने इन्वॉल्व रखा अपने साथ। 3-4 महीने उसको यूज़ किया। बस मैं इतना कहना चाह रही हूँ कि इसको सज़ा मिलनी चाहिए, शीज़ान को नहीं छोड़ना। मेरा बच्चा गया है।
According to police sources, Sheezan Khan has revealed to the police that both the actors were in a relationship with each other. Sources also say that investigation will also be done to see if Sheezan wanted Tunisha to change her religion and get married. Tunisha's death has triggered love jihad allegations, with Maharashtra Minister and BJP leader Girish Mahajan calling it a case of love jihad. The police, however, have denied any such angle.
तुनिशा शर्मा की जो मौत है और लव जिहाद का एक मसला है, मुझे लगता है इसकी पूरी जांच होनी चाहिए।
IPC 306 गुना दाखिल हुआ है और उसमें वो आरोपी को अरेस्ट कर दिया है। जो इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन में जो भी सामने आ जाएंगे उनको हम तहकीकात करेंगे।
The actor was shooting for a TV show, Alibaba Dastaan-e-Kabul, also starring Sheezan Khan. Tunisha Sharma started her acting career with a role in Bharat Ka Veer Putra Maharana Pratap that premiered in 2013. Besides starring in several TV shows, she has acted in Bollywood movies Fitur, Bar Bar Dekho and Kahani 2. Her family says that Tunisha had an anxiety attack, she was wronged and cheated.
15-20 दिन पहले तुनिशा को एंजाइटी सेट पे अटैक आया था, तो इन लोगों ने उसको एडमिट किया। तो हम लोग वहाँ पहुँचे तो उसने सिर्फ इतना बोला, मेरे साथ चीटिंग हुई है, मेरे साथ गलत हुआ है, अगर कोई दोषी है, चाहे वो जीशान हो, कोई भी जो भी इसमें दोषी है, उस सबको सजा मिले।
Just 8 hours before she was found hanging, Tunisha had shared a video on Instagram titled Mask of Happiness. Then the big question remains, what could have caused anxiety in those few hours that the young actor's life was snuffed out?
Well, the case of Tunisha is not isolated. Unfortunately, we've seen many such cases emerge in the recent past. Let's have a look. Many celebrities who were in the headlines not for so great reasons. Who can forget the case of Sushant Singh Rajput, the very talented 34-year-old actor who was found dead at his Mumbai house. Eventually, it was found he died due to suicide. Vaishali Thakkar, yet another very talented woman, 30-year-old, who was found dead at her home in Indore, had a successful TV career. You also had 42-year-old Kushal Punjabi, who was found hanging at his Mumbai home. Once again, there was history of mental health issues, depression. Sheezan Sharma, 25-year-old, found dead at her flat in Mumbai. Another TV actor who was in the headlines. Pratyusha Banerjee had a very successful TV career, made her way and her mark in the industry, but at the mere age of 24, she died due to suicide at her Mumbai apartment. Sheezan Khan, the 25-year-old, found hanging at her apartment. Once again, a case of abetment to suicide. In all these cases, there was a police investigation that was done, abetment to suicide cases that were filed. Now, precaution or propaganda? Let's also talk about this angle of love jihad that has emerged, especially after the Shraddha Walkar case. The Maharashtra government has set up a 13-member panel to track interfaith marriages on the angle of love jihad. Is there some kind of coercion? Is there some kind of blackmailing? The objective is to give a platform to avail counseling services, resolve issues. That's a good step because that may help, do away with a lot of cases like suicide. The government can't spy on who marries whom. This is an interference in individual choices. That's what the key objection has been. The Maharashtra government panel will also track the registered and unregistered marriages. Right now, there is no compulsory registration of marriages in India. The objective is to help women who are estranged from their families. The objection has been that consenting adults don't need government meddling. This is largely about the panel that has been set by the Maharashtra government. Now, let's talk about some key questions that emerged post the death of Tunisha. The big question, what triggered the actor's death? How, why, in what circumstances did she commit suicide? Was she under some kind of depression or a mental health issue that was unaddressed after the breakup with her boyfriend? Was she cheated upon? And is there criminality in that cheating? Because all breakups, all kinds of cheating are not criminal. Was there any altercation, any immediate altercation with her boyfriend that led to the death? Is there any truth in the claims made by Tunisha's mother on the basis of which a complaint has been filed? More importantly, the point that we were just discussing, is there any truth in the love jihad theory? We'll also discuss the issue of mental health, the rising cases of suicide in India, unfortunately, and that larger story that we're hearing from anecdotal evidences around us about young people dying due to suicide. Joining us on the broadcast is our full panel of guests. I want to cut across to our guests who are with us on the broadcast. Mr. Vineet Raina, who's an actor, is with us on the show. Swapnil Kothari, who's a lawyer, who is also joining us on the broadcast. Nirmal Kaur, who's a former IPS officer. Dr. Jayanti Datta, who's a clinical psychologist, is also joining us on the broadcast. Swapnil, coming to you first and taking a view from you. Set the tone and tenor for us. How difficult or easy it is to prove abetment to suicide? Simply put, a lot of relationships in modern day and age don't end on good note necessarily. But all breakups cannot be abetment to suicide if one person unfortunately and fatefully decides to end his or her life. Swapnil.
Anusha, the names that you rolled out earlier, 4 or 5 names as to people who have committed suicide, I beg to differ. 3 out of 5 of them at least are known to have been murdered. Obviously, as far as Sushant Singh is concerned, CBI has not yet come out with a ruling as to whether it was suicide or murder. So we should refrain from saying that it's a suicide. As far as Jihad Khan, there's also an issue about that. Pratyusha Banerjee also. Now, coming to your moot question, whether Section 306 is very difficult to prove. The answer, you are a lawyer yourself. 306 is extremely difficult to prove, Anusha, because to say that, I could insult someone out of vendetta, revenge 1,000,000 times. I could really want to hurt that person. But that does not mean that I want that person to die or to take such an extreme step that she should just jump out of the window and commit suicide or whatever it may be. But the point is that as far as this case is concerned, I still would refrain from commenting whether it is suicide. I would still urge the cops, given the very new nuances to this case are coming of Tunisha, that they need to examine this, because an hour before, when she was literally shooting for a scene, within an hour you go up to the makeup room or whatever it may be, and you hang yourself. That's a little hard for anybody to believe, and within a day or two you come and say that, yeah, that must have been suicide. I would rather urge that these kind of cases are not closed so easily. Okay. You investigate every particular angle. Now, 306 to convert to 302 does take a little bit of time, and that's the reason why you need to investigate. The tone and the tenor, Anusha, is very simple. Any such deaths today in Bollywood, especially, or in the television industry, whether they stem out of anxiety, depression, or they are considered or perceived to be suicide, they need to be examined thoroughly from all angles. I will not talk about love jihad. That sounds a little too, peevish to me and very petty, in my opinion, just to rake up some political murmur. But other than that, I think there is a life that has been lost that needs to be investigated. That is the point. Investigation. You do not close out murder cases that easily. You can take 6 months, year and a half. It doesn't matter. Nobody, the heavens are not going to fall. So rather than, do it,
but, before I go to my other guest, Swapnil, you spoke about the case of Sushant Singh Rajput. How many years it has been ever since that unfortunate case? I mean, even today, if I were to go with that entire logic that, we still don't know it was a murder or it was a suicide, we still don't have answers. The only thing conclusive we know so far is that abetment to suicide is perhaps the only charge that the agency can press against the actress and, his girlfriend who was under the scanner at that point in time. Ria, I want to shift the focus back to what has happened in this case. Vineet Raina, the actor, is also with us on the broadcast. Vineet, coming to you. There are pressures, there are pushes, there's push and pull, there's mental health issues, there is stress. All of that is a part of our modern day living. That being said, is the life of a television actor more specifically susceptible to increased stress? Because we have seen a lot of these cases come in the recent past. She had a relatively successful television career, Tunisha. She was undergoing tremendous mental agony. That's abundantly clear through her actions. But Pratyusha Banerjee, many other cases that have come to light, what is it particularly about the industry that makes it so difficult perhaps to survive in?
Anusha, I believe that we belong to a profession which requires never-ending shifts, and we are quite prepared to, when we get into some kind of a profession, we are actually prepared. And in case of Tunisha, she has been working in the industry from last 10-12 years. She was working as a child actor also, so she was totally totally aware of all the working circumstances, with all the circumstances, all the working scenarios that are required for this profession. I don't think that is the real reason, because she has been very professional. I have recently worked with her. She was very vibrant on the sets all the time. She has been totally professional. She used to just hop around on the set. She used to do her and perform her scenes so naturally and so professionally, and she used to be energetic all the time. And I don't think that is the reason, because yes, we speak to each other. We all actors, we spend so much time, like almost 12 to 13 hours on the set.
Yeah.
And she never complained about it, that, oh, I'm getting so tired, this is so frustrating.
Yeah.
No, she
Yeah.
was very
Yeah.
ambitious. She was
Yeah.
looking forward to a very bright future,
Indeed.
because
Indeed.
she had a bright future. At the age of 19, she had everything falling at its right place. And I really liked what Mr. Swapnil said, that
Yeah.
every aspect of this this
Entire
mishap that
case.
has
Yeah.
occurred,
Yeah.
every aspect should be investigated thoroughly.
Dr.
We
Datta?
cannot just reach to a conclusion that yes, it is a strenuous working hours or professional
No,
life.
not at all. Not
There
at all.
has to be there has to be so many things going around.
Absolutely. And, Vineet, I asked this question to you very particularly also because many times we attribute it to the long working hours, to the difficult shifts or the strains of a particular profession. But, what you're saying, that she was always energetic on the sets, she was always very alive and present there, enjoyed doing her work. Dr. Jayanti Datta, I'm coming to you. And this is perhaps a critical aspect to talk about. People who take this drastic step of death due to suicide, or when they commit suicide, loosely speaking, sometimes people around them are very surprised. Often people undergoing severe trauma and depression are able to camouflage their emotions, hide their pain from the rest of the world, and put out a personality that may not really reflect what is going inside them. Because we hear this in one case after another, that, oh, it's so difficult to believe that XYZ can do something like that. The person looked completely happy. Dr. Datta.
I have my reservations about Sushant Singh.
Yeah.
I have my reservations even about Jihad Khan. For both these cases, I've been interviewed for long hours on various channels. Now, as far as Tunisha is concerned, now this young girl was not new to this profession. To say that it was the anxiety attack and it was the depression, mind you, when you go through these kind of emotional upheavalness, you become vulnerable. And if you are in a relationship, that person knows your soft corners, and you are vulnerable to be exploited emotionally. Now, when you talk about Tunisha, few hours before, she was not showing any signs. Mind you, I've been handling these kind of cases of depression. I recognize mostly 90% of the times that this patient is vulnerable. So I make the vigilant awareness around and, make the right kind of arrangements. They do show certain signs. They do show that they are slipping out from the normal trend.
Yeah.
So that these are the signs, symptoms. The patient can take this extreme step. Now, in such cases where the patient is not showing, even if the patient has been a case of depression, not showing any signs, symptoms that the patient might take this kind of a step, the fact is they remain vulnerable. Who pushed her? If you trigger that point and push the patient that, well, let me see if you can do it. If you can't do this, then we are out. Now, this is what pushes them to take this extreme step, because they remain vulnerable. They are dependent on you. You remain exposed to only few relationships, and especially if it's a romantic relationship, you can definitely be exploited. Now that angle should be explored.
That angle should be explored.
Why?
Yeah.
If
How and why and what led to that trigger?
Yes.
Dr. Nirmal
Somebody
Kaur
must have been pushed.
Dr.
Somebody
Nirmal
must
Kaur,
have been pushed.
Dr. Nirmal Kaur, I'm coming to you. Somebody must have pushed. That's what the mother also said in her complaint, that it was in fact her boyfriend and his cheating that led to the death of the actress Tunisha and the unfortunate circumstances in which she died. There's also a statement that has come in from the Maharashtra minister where he says that the angle of love jihad should be probed. There's a special panel in Maharashtra that has been formed. How do you see this entire angle of love jihad, quote unquote, where under which, there's a larger design through which you are put into a trap and, you're asked to convert? That's the angle essentially you're talking about. Do you think that really applies in a case of this nature?
See, that very young life, a very talented life, that girl seems so happy and vibrant and energetic, spreading, warmth everywhere. For her to end her life herself suddenly like this, doesn't somehow, go down well. And it is true, that she is a very talented actor. You can see it. She's been a child actor also. And she's performed very well till about 1 hour ago. She's highly productive. She's highly functional. She's, doing her lines. She's doing her acting. She's doing her profession very well. And suddenly she commits suicide. And if that is the case, if she's hanged herself, I'm sure there are CCTV cameras and all there, which will need to be analyzed and see what is going on. But it is very true, that when somebody knows us emotionally, like my son or my husband or, anybody who knows me closely, knows which buttons to push. What is it? They know my weaknesses, and they know which buttons to push and what is going to really upset me. So this seems to be if in case it is a case of suicide, which again needs to be investigated into. If it is a case of suicide, then somebody must have really riled her very badly for within those few minutes, in a matter of minutes. And that impulse, because suicide impulse is sudden, but it is not that it is that sudden. If you see her, all her Instagram pictures and all, it doesn't seem that. There's this, I'm sure, when you are interfaith, interreligious kind of relationships, there's a lot of pressure. But the girl has been handling pressure since the age of 10 or something. She's been in the industry for so long. Okay, she's 20 and all, but she must have been handling these arc lights and all for a long time.
Yeah.
So she doesn't seem that vulnerable or that, that much of a weak personality that she'll suddenly, quiver under it and commit suicide. That doesn't somehow seem likely. All kinds of things will need to be looked into before arriving at a conclusion. Police is seized of the matter, and I'm sure they'll look at it, take a 360-degree view, investigate the thing from all angles, and then arrive at a conclusion.
Mother has clearly said that she was provoked. There were certain things that were done to her in a relationship that led Tunisha to really take a step of that nature. Vineet, I'm coming back to you. As far as the relationship of Tunisha and Sheezan, her boyfriend, is concerned, was it known within the industry that they were dating? Was it known that they had some kind of problems? Because usually issues like these often erupt in the social circles as well. What was known about their relationship?
It was quite evident on the sets that they are very cordial with each other. They like each other's company, and they always looked very happy with each other. They used to spend most of the time with each other, doing lines, because they were the lead pair of the show. And they used to have such scenes where there are romantic scenes, a certain amount of intimacy is there. So they used to be together most of the time on the sets, and they looked always very happy with each other, very comfortable with each other's company. I never saw them having a fight on the set, or arguing about something, or yelling to each other. There was nothing like that I could see or I could gauge. They were very cordial with each other. Yes.
They were very cordial with each other. Swapnil, this entire theory of love jihad that has been brought in a case like this, you said that this angle should not be brought in a case of this nature, if I heard you correctly. How do you see Maharashtra Minister's statement on this?
Well, I think, Anusha, it's more politics than anything else. I'm not saying don't bring that angle. You want to examine that angle, bring it. Examine it by all means, but don't make a brouhaha about it. It sounds a little too far-fetched to me, that every single interreligious mysterious death results in love jihad angle. I mean, that's a little... there's a life that's been lost. Look at section 302. That is more pertinent rather than 306. If there is a murder, that is more. But what I would always want to point at, and that's what all the other panelists also, hinted at, that all these angles need to be looked at rather than just hush it up as an abetment to suicide case. Let me tell you, Anusha, in my profession, rather should I say in our profession, there are several lawyers who suffer from this. I've seen many people like that who lose cases, who don't want to talk to you for three weeks on end, but they're going day in, day out. They're going going about their job. Even if you raise that issue after 3 years, they'll still, literally not want to talk about it and have a very, very hushed up view about it.
Sure.
So, that they are anxious, they're depressed about it. They don't want to discuss that. That doesn't mean that they want to commit suicide. So to say that, people who are depressed and anxious. I know a lot of people. I could be a little anxious myself. I don't know. People around me could say, Swapnil, you're a little bit anxious, to us. You come across, you don't come as chilled out to us. Maybe you appear on panels too often on television. That's the reason why that happens. Or you appear in courts too often, or you do arbitration matters, very heavy ones. That's the reason why you are doing. So I said, well, possibly, I don't know. So, one doesn't know whether you're anxious, depressive, or whatever that may be clinically, as I mean to say. That's only clinical psychologists to tell you that whether you're clinically depressed or clinically anxious. But the point is that this particular thing, what I have an umbrage at is that whenever there is a death of this nature that's taken place, everything is brushed off as anxiety, depression, and, people driving to the step of suicide. Now, that's a little too, easier job. I mean, do we want to make it that easy for the cops? That whatever this happens and that is not the way the investigation is conducted.
No, you're right. You're right in pointing out that this simpliciter method cannot be followed in any death, and all possible angles for a police agency needs to be filed. But in this case, even if we were to look at the worst allegation that has been made by the mother says that yes, she died due to suicide, but she was driven to suicide by her boyfriend. There were certain circumstances that drove her to take that step. Dr. Datta, I'm coming back to you. Modern day relationships are volatile. Would it be a hyperbole if I say that mental health is an endemic in this country right now, in perhaps the entire world, the manner in which we see relationships make and break? Anxiety, it seems like, is a factor around us with almost everyone, as Swapnil was talking about.
I agree with that, because you see, anxiety is part and parcel of our daily living, the daily course. And especially in this case, the girl we are talking about, she was not new to it. She was coping with it for years. Now, the point which I want to raise is, who knew about her softer points? Who could have been emotionally exploited? Now, when the patient takes this kind of a step, there has to be a trigger. There has to be somebody who would say, all right, if you don't do this, let's break off. Now, this person is of the criminal propensity, which should be really probed into in a deeper manner. You cannot write it off. Ye anxiety hai, it's a depression hai, so they committed suicide. I don't agree to that, because patients don't commit suicide only because of anxiety, only because of depression. Who pushes them? You have to find that out. Now, as far as the earlier cases you talked about, Jihad Khan, yes, it was a suicide, but who pushed her? Who pressed that button, where you make the patient go haywire and she's left with nothing else but to take her own life. Now, in this case also, I would say that the probe has to be scientifically dealt with. Profiling should be done very thoroughly. I've been teaching profiling of the criminals to the CBI also. Now, that investigation has to be very, very subtle and has to be, going into the deeper layers. You cannot write it off saying, we were in a relationship, I broke off, so she committed suicide. It doesn't happen like that. I don't agree to this.
Exactly. I mean, by that logic, we would have, unfortunately, far more number of suicides. And I agree that simpliciter theory cannot be taken. Dr. Nirmal Kaur, you have an experience firsthand of policing on the ground. You have seen various cases on the ground. The quote-unquote word love jihad, if it cannot be implemented in every case, if it's not some kind of a prototype for every case, it's clearly not a mere canard. There are various cases that have come to light recently that have led the Maharashtra government to form a panel of this nature. This case, vis-a-vis love jihad, your thoughts?
I think when two people spontaneously fall in love and want to carry it forward, given their social circumstances or whatever, or, as opposed to when falling in love is, run like a campaign, with the active support from agencies. That is love jihad. And, it is also the rising individualism, especially amongst the Hindu girls, the Hindu families who think they are progressive. And also the weakening social bonds, weakening social ties are, extended families are vanishing. At least the social cohesion amongst them is vanishing. Even on Durga Puja and all, you hardly see the social families, the whole entire thing gathering, in all the traditional things. So, and the individualism is rising. People think they should be allowed to do their own thing, howsoever socially, the more socially denied it is, the better it is, because they want to rebel. So that kind of a thing, leads to the kind of things we are saying, where love, so-called love, is perpetrated as a campaign. So that is what I would call love jihad. In this case, it needs to be seen whether it was a genuine affection both of them had for each other. And if it was genuine affection, why did he not walk off on her in a soft manner? Why should it lead her to commit suicide?
Okay.
That is again something which needs
as I close the debate, Swapnil, I want you to have the last word, 30 seconds. Each kind of argument, or what you say, what Dr. Datta was talking about, that who pushed somebody. What kind of pushing somebody does it really amount that you call it criminal, that it becomes abetment to suicide? Because you can have an argument with your partner, you can have heated conversation, you can have violent sometimes encounters with each other, but not necessarily each incident leads to a suicide. What is the threshold for deciding the criminality in personal relationships of this nature?
Well, Section 306 and the several cases that have come under that and that have been examined by the courts, and the way the courts have come out with it is very clear that the propensity of the accused should be such that he should drive that person, the victim, into such a frame of mind that that person should have no other option but to commit suicide, with the mens rea, which is essential to show that the police can show it to the courts that there was mens rea on part of the accused, that is criminal intention, to see to it that that person wanted. It's like, giving a very simple, facetious example. If I drive at the speed of 60 kilometers an hour in a crowded Khan market, I know that I'm going to bump off some people. Of course, but that's very, that's very facetious. But, translating, extrapolating
the threshold and the evidentiary threshold is quite high, as Swapnil was talking about. I'm completely out of time. Vineet Raina, Swapnil Kothari, Nirmal Kaur and Dr. Jayanti Datta, thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. While the investigation is underway, all possible angles should be probed. And there's a special panel now that the Maharashtra government has set up when it comes to instances of quote-unquote love jihad. Let's see what really comes out of that. With that, it's a wrap. Shivani Gupta joins you with Plain Speak. Thank you for watching.